Hey, Joe Hubbard here. Now, if you're a fan of Michael Brecker, John Coltrane, Chick Corea, Wayne Shorter, and Herbie Hancock, then you've probably already heard of the R25 Non-Tertial Triad, which has become a familiar sound in jazz improvisation. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use these three notes to improvise over the changes to the iconic jazz standard giant steps. Even if you're not familiar with the R25 Non-Tertial Triad, don't worry, I'll guide you through everything you need to know step by step. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to incorporate this technology into your own jazz improvisations and start to push the boundaries of your own playing. So grab your bass and let's get started. Now, to help you follow along with this lesson, I have an accompanying PDF that contains all the exercises and analysis that's covered in this tutorial. Plus, as a bonus, you'll get the backing tracks as well, and yes, it does include tablature. It's available for purchase at a cost of around $12, but trust me, it's worth the investment. Once you download it, you'll have it on your music stand forever, making it easy to refer back to whenever you need to practice. So just click on this link over here and grab your copy now. So to understand what's going on with the R25 Non-Tertial Triad, we need to first look at its structure, which contains three inversions. In the root position, the triad has a sus2 sound. In the first inversion, it features stacked perfect fourths. Finally, the second inversion has a sus4 sound. By mastering these different inversions, we'll add more depth when you start to use these ideas in your improvisations. Now that we've explored the basic structure of the R25 Non-Tertial Triad, it's time to put this theory into practice with some exercises. By organizing the inversions of the triad into a 2-octave exercise, you can develop the familiarity and flexibility with this sound. Take some time to practice this exercise in every key, which will help to internalize the sound and make it easier to use in your improvisations. The next logical step is to understand where to play these ideas in relation to the chords you're improvising over. For example, if we take a C major 7th chord, we can see that it contains 5 different R25 non-tertial triads. So an important thing about getting the PDF is I've got this entire breakdown for not only the major 7 like I've just demonstrated, but also the minor 7 and the dominant 7th, which are the 3 chords that you'll find in the tune giant steps. Now that we've gone over the basics, it's time to take a look at an etude over the changes of giant steps. What I want you to do is pay close attention to the way that it creates an open and modern sound over this tune. Now don't worry if it sounds a little difficult at first. I'll be back later to break it all down for you. Keep watching and let's take a deeper dive into the world of jazz improvisation with the R25 Non-Tertial Triads over the changes of giant steps. In the first 4 bars, we start off with a B major 7, then it goes to a D7. Then we've got a G major 7 to B flat 7. Then we have an E flat major 7, and then we have A minor 7 to D7. Now, the cool thing about this tune is it's just a series of modulations between 3 keys, and those 3 keys are all in the first 4 bars. It's B major, it's G major, and it's E flat major. One of the hardest things about giant steps in the first 8 bars is the way it crosses over the bar line with the key changes. So as you see the first chords in B on the first 2 beats, then we've got the second 2 beats is in G, then resolving to G in the next bar. Then the B flat is the 5/7 of the E flat major 7, crossing over the bar line. Then we've got the A minor 7 to the D7, which is taking us into the second 4 bars. And it kind of just creates a different kind of transposition in the second 4. So that's kind of our challenge here with this tune. So if we look at the first bar, I've got B major 7 to D7, often with the dominant 7th chord. What we're going to use, and I use this all the time, is substituting the related 2 for the dominant chord. It basically creates a sus4 sound over the dominant 7th chord and sounds really cool, and people use it all the time. And it's one of the tactics that's used a lot with giant steps, because you can kind of see it creates more of a stepwise motion from the B going to the A minor 7, going to the G major 7, then going from the B major 7 to the D7 to the G7. So if we look at the notes I'm using here, we start off with the root 2/5 cell, and I've got this straight in B where I'm using the root, the 2, and the 5. And if we look at note function, I can call that 2 and 9. Okay, then on the and a 2, I'm pushing into the flat 3 of the A minor 7 chord. And then I'm playing another cell, which is flat 3, flat 7, 11, and then flat 3. So what you see a lot in jazz, or what a lot of people want to do in jazz, is they want to analyze everything in relation to the melody and the harmony in a vertical fashion. But it doesn't always work this way. And often the way people play are using a technique called anticipation, which is anticipating the next chord change. The reason it works is because your ear can hear that's where it's going. And this is very important. And you hear this all the time in many different people's improvisations. So that's what's happening here. So when I'm playing that, I'm pushing into that A minor 7 there from that flat 3. In bar 2, I've got G major 7 going to B flat 7. And what I'm using here is the 3, sharp 11, 7, and then sharp 11 over the G major 7. And then over the B flat 7, I'm using 5, 9, 13, and 5. Then over the E flat major 7, I'm using the 5, the 9, the root, and the 5. And then over the A minor 7 to the D7, I'm using root 5, 9, and then 5, 9 over the D7 chord. So that goes. If I put that all together into a flow, and I'm going to do this really slowly so you can kind of see what's going on, this is what we're going to have. Taking a look at the second 4 bars, in the first bar we start off with a G major 7 followed by a B flat 7th chord. Now if we look, we've got 2 3-note patterns in this bar, but it's a bit deceptive because in the first pattern, the last note, which is a B flat, is a push into the B flat 7 chord. So you can see this technique of anticipation works well in creating different rhythmic variation, and it subtly sort of hides the idea of the way we're using these triad patterns And the thing is that if someone's trying to analyze something like this and they don't really know the concept, it's very hard for them to see this because we're using this anticipation technique throughout this whole etude. So over the G major 7, I've got the sharp 11 to 3. Then I'm resolving down to the B flat, which is, you know, making sense over the B flat 7. And then I play this line in fourths going from 9-5 root over the B flat 7. Over the E flat major 7, I've got 13, 3, and 9. And then over the F sharp 7, I've got the 9, the root, and the 5. If I put that, you can hear it in context, just that second bar. See, a lot of people wouldn't realize that that's just combining those two non-tertial triads together. So that's, I think, is a very cool thing in that it's kind of subtly hidden within the context of this etude. Then over the B major 7 chord, I've got root 9, 5, and then back to the 9 and the root. Or as it's played rhythmically. And then the F minor 7 to the B flat 7, I've got 2 3-note patterns, and then the last note in the bar is actually pushing into the first bar in the 3rd, 4th bar line, which is an E flat major 7. So over the F minor 7, I've got 11, 5 in the root. Over the B flat 7, I've got 9, 13, and 5. And then that last note, that's pushing in to the next bar. So if we put those 4 bars together in a flow, really slow, I've got this. Here in the next 4 bars, we start off with an E flat major 7th chord. Now we're in the second half of giant steps now, which is a little bit more approachable harmonically because we're no longer changing keys crossing over the bar line. So you can see there's a whole bar of E flat major 7. Then we've got a whole bar with the 2-5 leading us into the G major 7 in bar 3. And then the 4th bar is a 2-5 leading us into B major 7 in the last 4 bars. So this is a lot more approachable than the first 8 bars. That's the real challenge of giant steps, is right there. And a lot of times the tempo is very fast and, you know, it causes problems. So what we've got here in the first bar is the 5-9-5-9 root pattern. Then in the second bar, I've got A minor 7 to the D7. The first 2 notes is the 5 and the 9 over the A minor. Then when I hit the F sharp, I'm into the 3 of the D7, and then I have flat 7 and the root. And then when I hit that G, the end of 4, that's pushing me into G7. So that whole bar, going into the next bar, which is G7, I have had that root. Then I've got the 9, 3, 13, and 3. So then the last bar, I've got C sharp minor 7 to F sharp 7. And what I'm doing here is that I'm doing that same substitution principle where I'm not even thinking about the 5 chord. I'm just thinking about the 2 chord. And I've got flat 7 root, 11 root, and then flat 3, flat 7, flat 3, 11. So this is going to go like this. So if I put that 4 bars into a flow, this is what I've got. And finally, in the last 4 bars, we start with a B major 7 chord. I've got 9 root, and then I've got 3, 7. And this is actually 2-note fragments of 2 different non-tertial triad cells. So I've got the 9 to the root, and then I've got the 3 to the 7. And then it goes in on the last eighth note of that bar to an F, which is pushing into the next chord, which is F minor 7. And then that's followed up by 9, and then the root, and then the 5, because in that bar as well, I'm disregarding the B flat 7. I'm just thinking of this as an F minor 7th chord. So when I have that from that first bar, 1, then I go into the third bar. This is over the E flat major 7 chord. I've got 3, 9, 13, 3, and 13. And then over the last bar, again, I'm doing that substitution procedure where I'm just thinking about the 2, disregarding the F sharp 7 here. And I've got root, flat 7, root 11, and then flat 3, flat 7, flat 3. Okay, so if I put that into a 4-bar flow, this is what I've got. I hope these exercises in the Giant Steps Etude have shown you the incredible potential of the Root 2-5 Non-Tertial Triad in your jazz improvisations. With a solid command of this concept, you can now start to explore new creative directions that aren't possible with just arpeggios and scales alone. Don't forget to download the accompanying PDF, and also make sure to check out my latest book, the Triad Sudoku Workbook, for a comprehensive and fundamental guide to both tertial and non-tertial triads. Remember to practice smart, work hard, and keep experimenting with new ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.